We're ready. Let's call this meeting to order at 6:01. Madam Clerk, will you roll the call?
Yes.
Call the roll. Yeah, see, there's my dyslexia right there. Yep.
Good evening, everyone. I'll begin with roll call, and I will begin with Director Gould.
Present.
Orzali.
Present.
Wood.
Here.
Sheets.
Present.
Director Kelly is absent this evening. Director Jones.
Here.
Director White is also absent. Director Clark.
Present.
And President Sailors, turning it back over to you.
Thank you very much. Let's stand and say the pledge to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of
America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next is the Metro Cable announcement. The open session meeting is videotaped for cablecast on Metro Cable 14. Replay on Saturday, May 14th at 4 p.m. and Monday, May 16th at 12 noon on Channel 14. Webcast at metro14live.saccounty.net. Now we have the public opportunity to discuss matters of public interest within district jurisdiction, including items on or not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers?
We do not have any in-person speakers, and I do see that we have a few participants virtually. Art, if you could give everyone the chance to speak if they so wish.
Hello, attendees. You now have the ability to unmute yourselves if there's anything you would like to present to the board at this time. That's a negative.
No speakers this evening.
No speakers tonight. All right, moving on to the consent items. Are there any questions on the consent? And if there are none, I'll take a motion in a second.
Madam Chair, I make a motion.
Madam Chair, I make a recommendation that we approve consent.
I'll second.
Thank you. Director Gould makes a motion and Director Sheets seconds. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Director Gould.
Aye.
Orzali.
Aye.
Wood.
Aye.
Sheets.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
And Sailors.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next, we move to action items. Number one is the UAV purchase for the year 2021 to 2022 budget amendments. General Operating Fund 212A and Capital Facilities Fund 212D. Deputy Chief Mitchell and CFO O'Toole. Welcome, gentlemen. What have you got for us tonight?
So I'll be starting. This item is presented to you to approve a transfer between two budget categories, capital outlay and the services and supplies. And as you may recall, our budget is built with restrictions on moving money between categories, labor, capital outlay, and services and supplies. This is a $6,000 transfer from capital outlay to services and supplies. We typically make these kinds of transfers at the end of the fiscal year, maybe in June. This particular purchase division needed it earlier than that. So we're coming forward with this one-off item, $6,000 for the purchase of, I believe it is 2 UAV vehicles.
Does anyone have any questions about this?
Madam President, just a quick, how many UAVs and then vehicles, air vehicles do we have? I've seen one out at the
yeah, there's a couple of different, sorry. Thank you, Director. There's a couple of different airframes we have that function differently. There's a larger one that has payload capacity. There's also a number of the smaller versions that we use for more of the infrared and observation. So we have, I believe, in our current fleet of aircraft, if you will, total of 6. I could be off by 1 or 2 just because some of them have timed out. And obviously with this being a request, we're looking to make sure that we're updating those and get back to where we have the ability to fly training missions, do the aircraft recertification for our pilots, excuse me, and then the newer technology and things like that. So.
Well, I think that program is just fantastic, gentlemen. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. Leader in the state for sure. So.
How often are we using those?
I don't have the statistics in front of me. I know as a lot of things that we do, the training missions are occurring regularly. I haven't seen recently the monthly update, but there's an hour tracking that they do within that that's provided. I know incident wise, we've used them over the years. The program's been around for about 5 years.
Right.
We've used it on numerous occasions for different like nighttime flying missions on wildland fires. We had one in the middle of American River that we weren't sure where was burning. On the side of the bluffs, we've done some area searches after vehicle accidents to make sure there wasn't anybody we were missing in the fields. We've used them for aerial platforms, for law enforcement partners to be able to go out and help them on an officer involved shooting, some investigations and things like that. So when we get those, you know, those low frequency calls, the asset is allowing us to respond to them and utilize it appropriately. And really it's been a big benefit on those things when we've used them. So. On areas, and especially, you know, at nighttime along the river, when we needed to do searches and the helicopter is not necessarily available quickly, we can deploy it. We have on-duty pilots that are available to get out there and deploy the aircraft by call.
Yeah, it's a great tool.
Yep.
Great tool.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions? I see none, but I have one. Since this program's been around for 5 years, maybe we can get a presentation on this in the next month or two at a board meeting.
Right. We can make that occur. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I see Chief Farika just logged in our special operations PC, so message received.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That was a great present. All right. So this, we need a motion and a second if there's no more talk.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, I'll move it.
Recommendation from the dais.
So I think we have a motion and a second on this. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, Director Gould.
Aye.
Orzali.
Aye.
Wood.
Aye.
Sheets.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
And Sailors.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Our next action item number 2 is the ratification of the resolution to extend the teleconference of board meetings, Government Code 54953E3. This recommendation is to keep us doing the meeting via Zoom and here in the dais so that people can come in Zoom or they can come in person. Can I get a motion and a second on this?
We make a motion to adopt.
We have a motion and we have a second. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Director Gould.
Aye.
Orzali.
Aye.
Wood.
Aye.
Sheets.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
And Sailors.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda are reports, the President's report. On Monday, May 9th, I attended the membership meeting. Various items were discussed, including facility improvements, recruitment, conference attendance, this district's culture, and the staff compensation and classification study. This was the 4th of these meetings that I have attended over the last year. Once again, a very good discussion that brought forth the need for more education in the diversity and inclusion areas. And how do we as a district incorporate this throughout our members? One idea that has been brought up in every meeting is education. But how do we educate our whole district has always been a stumbling block. One idea that was brought up this time was that California Special District Association offers on-demand webinars. And since this district is a member of CSDA, we do have the opportunity to avail ourselves to their learning webinars. And furthermore, board members, we regularly use CSDA to take classes and help keep our certificates refreshed. So now I'd like to remind all board members to take a look at their webinars that they offer to make sure you are up to date and maybe find a class that looks interesting to you and will help keep us all up to date with all that this ever-changing world has thrown at us in these unprecedented times. And then please bring this new information back here to share with the rest of us. Thank you. This ends my report. Up next is the fire chief's report. Chief Harms.
Thank you, President Sailors, and thank you for attending the meeting the other day. Good evening, directors. I have quite a few things to bring forward. The first thing on my list is retirements. Congratulations to Captain Mike McGoldrick on his retirement on May 6th. Mike put in 27 years with the district. I'd also like to congratulate Engineer Tim Barnes on his retirement on May 1st after 17 years of service to the district. So Mike and Tim, congratulations to both of them. For promotions, congratulations to Giovanna Reed for her promotion to Business Applications Analyst in IT. That will be effective June 1st. She is coming from the Human Resource Specialist position. For reclassifications, congratulations to Michelle Dehoney. She's moving from the Administrative Specialist to the Human Resource Specialist effective June 1st also. For new hires, we want to welcome Alex Morton, who was just recently hired as a Fire Investigator 2 for the Fire Investigation Division, and he started on May 2nd. Reassignments. The first reassignment is Captain Brendan Hogan has been administratively assigned to the EMS as a day captain position. He will start there on July 11th. He is currently at the academy and providing EMS training to the Recruit Academy. And when he finishes up his assignment there, he'll be assigned then to EMS. I'd also like to congratulate firefighter paramedic Christine Rivera. She has been selected to fill the role in the Mobile Integrated Health. She'll start in that position on May 23rd. Also with a June 30th retirement of Fire Marshal Lisa Barsdale, the following moves will be made. Assistant Chief John Runicki is assigned to the EMS division effective May 31st. Assistant Chief Mike Lozano is assigned to the Training, Safety, and Health and Fitness division effective May 31st. And Assistant Chief Barbie Law will be assigned to the Community Risk Reduction division as our Fire Marshal effective June 13th. The next one is just some meetings. The first one was the end of April. I had an opportunity to go to FDIC, which is the Fire Department Instructors Conference, and did a presentation there. And then we had a number of our members that were there also attending the conference. It was great. It was very, very well attended. And it was great just to see everybody there, and a lot of fire training that is going on. Following that meeting, we went to Washington, D.C., myself, along with Directors Clark, Director Jones, and Director White. And then a great team. Jeff Fry was the lead for our team, and he was also the lead on the public safety side of it. Jeff, Krishana Fields, and Ty Bailey did just a tremendous job. What I would say is just the work that happens behind the scene to be able to get all of our papers into position on the public safety side of it. But one of the things that the last two times, and especially this time that we did, was that we had a track that was a public safety track, but we really had our own track that we followed and was able to do just a number of meetings. We worked with Lisa from Holland and Knight. We met with just a number of the elected that was there, but we also met with the U.S. Fire Administrator, the IFC, which is the International Association of Fire Chiefs, the Congressional Fire Service Institute. And then we had an opportunity on Friday to meet, or Thursday to meet with the DC Fire Chief and his Chief of Staff. So what was interesting there was just that the initial conversation was to be about wall times. And one of the struggles that we are having here was identified through our connections with the U.S. Fire Administrator of being nationally an issue. Their wall times are, I would even say, more significant than our wall times, is that they dispatch companies to hospitals in the morning just to start the management of it. But what was interesting, for an hour meeting ended up being about 2 hours meetings, and same issues with recruiting, apparatus, the cost of supplies, just a number of issues kind of happening across there. I hope to have a long relationship with the chief there. This week, Chief Law, myself, and Chief Mitchell had interviews for medical director. Starting on July 1st, we will have our own medical director for Metro Fire. In the past, we have shared a medical director across the city, Metro Fire, the Comm Center, Consumnes, and Folsom. And what we've identified was that the amount of time that we had and truly what our expectations are were not being met. So each agency is identified that they would have their own medical director. We interviewed 5 folks this week and have an individual that we will be making a job offer here really soon. As Director Saylor said, we had a meeting, when was that, Monday? Monday with the membership. And it was once again very well attended and just a lot of conversation, as you said. Chief Wagaman went through and talked about our facilities and a number of things that have been positive, and the group echoed those positive things. And one of the items that is budgeted in the next year's budget now and that we've looked at is the dorm rooms. And when we look at a number of our stations, and a lot of them down in the Folsom, or not Folsom, in the Florin area, is just their wide open dorm rooms. And so for all of our members, the ability to be able to build additional privacy, some of them will be able to, you know, maybe wall off, but a lot of them will have to be able to put a plan together for moving forward. Tim White was there. We talked a lot about recruitment. We reviewed a number of district policies in the contract with HR. We had an opportunity this past 6 months to send some of our members to the Women in Fire Conference, and then the Unified Fire Association, Unified Fire Authority put on a invite-only women leadership symposium. And so we were able to get us 2 spots for there. We were able to get a review of those, some of the takeaways and some of the things that we could bring back here to the district. One of those items that has got a lot of conversation is the ability for, and it was focused on the women in the fire services, the connection between each one of the different departments in the region and being able to bring people together. So very, very positive conversations. And the last one was about day staff compensation and the classification study. And I'll talk more about that in just a minute. Next item was about the capital facilities impact fee study. Myself, Chief Bailey, and Jeff Fry have started meeting with the County Board of Supervisors, along with the electeds for the city of Citrus Heights. We had a number of meetings today that were all, I would say, very positive. Then I had a follow-up meeting this evening with Ann Edwards, the CEO of the county, being able to take the impact fee study and move that forward as action items in each one of those locations. The last one just to talk about is that we have had just a number of conversations internally on the day staff compensation and classification study. We're still working through, which is phase 1, which is the salary survey portion of it. The consultant is putting together just a number of the numbers using the Metro 14 and a few other locations and local agencies as comparisons. Phase 2 will be a more in-depth evaluation of selected positions and a look at their workload, whether they supervise people, whether they do not supervise people, and then is the title and the position of those correct? And then the last part of it, as we went through this, is to make it actionable, is to work with each of our different divisions and different heads and say, what will be our 5-year plan? And how does that relate to the work that is currently on the table? How do we look over a 5-year period of time and look at a range of maybe a 10 to 20% expansion of duties during that time? What is the systems that are in place or things that will change in the future? I think an example of that, and I look at Lisa over there, probably about 2.5 or 3 years ago, we went from planned intakes where people would literally come here and at the front desk out there, they would bring their plans in and roll out their plans. And there was an intake process. And we had multiple people that worked at the front desk that interacted with people coming in. We also had other intakes at the county, and we also had intake at Rancho Cordova and at Citrus Heights. So it was a very labor intense, and there was a number of people that we needed for each one of those positions. Lisa came forward with a plan to be able to have all planned intake to be electronic. And so again, a very different system. I was very nervous, I'll just say up front, but it has gone off better than I ever expected. There was actually a person this week out in the lobby with plans laid out on the floor. And I thought, man, I have not seen that in a long time. But I don't think in the time that I've been here, and I'll knock on some wood, is that I don't think we've had a complaint about that. But when you look at workload and the expectations and the positions, it has changed significantly for that plans intake person from that interaction to be a more electronic interaction. So our plan is to move forward with that. And then the other part of that, we picked out 5 agencies: Orange County Fire Authority, Unified Fire Authority, West Metro, South Metro, and Tualatin Valley as possible places that are all organizations like us, maybe a little bit bigger and a little bit smaller, but they're each independent districts, and look at their org charts and see, is there something that is in there that would be useful or that would relate to where we are as an organization. So lots of stuff that is on there. Any questions for me?
Does anybody have any questions? Seeing no questions, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank
Chief
you.
Mitchell has the operations report now.
Okay. Camera's turning. Deal. Good evening again, everybody. A couple things for the operations report tonight for statistics. Since our last meeting on the 28th, we've had 4,028 calls, which is an uptick in our call volume over that time. We're up to, on average, about 287 calls a day. We're tracking what we would normally expect to see, about 66% of those EMS related. And we've had 178 fire incidents, which is about average of 12 calls per day. We've ended April and started off May very busy in regards to incidents and some complex incidents that we don't typically see. Actually, during the last board meeting, we had a vegetation fire in Battalion 9 on the 28th of April that went for 6 acres. So at the end of April, we're already seeing some of those activities increase and our lighter fuel loads and things like that. And we've started to see a number of dispatches for those grass fires. So we're getting close to that season. And then on the 30th, we had a small aircraft incident over at McClellan with a hard landing that we don't see too often. And so we've dealt with that. We had over the 1st of May, 2nd of May, and the 3rd of May, we had 3 different 2-alarm fires that our folks responded to. One of them was in Sacramento Fire Department that we assisted with, 2 within our own agency. One was an abandoned restaurant over in Battalion 5 that burned, as well as a townhome with another home exposed on the Delta side in the Battalion 13 area off of Fair Oaks Boulevard. We've had a number of duplex fires, apartment fires with multiple units. We did have an incident here at the beginning of this week where we had a house fire in Battalion 7 where our crews responded, were identified. We had a victim. They performed a vent inter-isolate search technique and were able to remove a victim and get that person to the hospital. Fortunately, we were able to get them to the hospital alive, and they're still there right now. So the last information we have is they're recovering. Thoughts and prayers with them and hope for a full recovery on that. And so just the point of that is we've had a very busy start to May. We hope that isn't indicative of what we are continuing to see throughout the year, but our crews have been doing a great job in response and mitigating those incidents. So a big thank you to all those folks. I mentioned the wildland season on the 16th. So next Monday at 8 a.m., we're going to transition into our normal wildland season dispatch model. We're hoping that we get some more rain, but it doesn't look good for the long-term forecast and the drought. And so with that, we're going to start increasing what we're sending to grass fire incidents within the county. And then shortly after that, followed up with the copter and the bulldozer staffing to come online just before Memorial Day weekend there on May 26th. So we'll have those resources available as we move into that season. And as probably timely, you probably saw the fire that they had in Orange County yesterday. And so our operational area is ready to respond outside as well to any requests through OES with our OES engines and things like that. So here we are. It seems like it never stops, but we're getting back into the thick of it. And then the last point for tonight, our fire academy currently is in week 11 of 18. They were looking forward to getting them graduated at the first part of July there and getting out in the field. That includes our 21 safer firefighters, working on a plan for how we're going to deploy them. And then over the last 2 weeks, they hit a very important point in their academy tenure. They were able to do the live fire training out at Station 52. And so when they were getting out there as crews and working in that live fire box with our cadre out there to learn what it looks like to actually go inside a fire, some of them for the first time, as well as build up that teamwork and camaraderie. It's really one of those points in the academy where everybody starts to come together and that glue starts to set about what teamwork looks like. A number of us were able to get out there and actually go in the fire with them. I'm happy to say none of them hit us with a hose line, so we were happy to talk to them afterwards and give them our thanks. So unless there's any questions for me, that'll end the operations report for tonight.
Any questions? Thank you. Moving on to Firefighters Local 522 report. BC Matt Cole.
Hello, good evening, directors. I'd like to share with you today, we had a general membership meeting where we welcomed Mike Gildone as a deputy director to the e-board. So that's a new position that we created to ensure that the membership has representation and support that they deserve. And so that was exciting to welcome Mike to the e-board team. We had a number of reports from all units. Some exciting information coming out of that is a PEPRA working group that President Jameson is putting together to look at some of the challenges moving forward with some of the pension reform that we experienced almost 10 years ago to date. So some of our PEPRA employees are now coming up on their 10-year anniversary. So just ensuring that we are united through whatever the future looks like as it pertains to our retirement systems. So good work there and supported by the CPF. Also, we have a Chaplains Academy starting up. We here at Metro have 2 individuals who have submitted and been accepted to that. It looks like potentially 14 folks going. So 522 picked up the cost to sponsor all of those folks through the Chaplains Academy. And we're putting our internal folks on UL to ensure that they're covered to get there. So that's a vitally important program for internally and externally in the community. Those folks are available at a moment's notice. I think we all know that Kevin Snyder has gone above and beyond for years. And to be able to bring some new folks into that program is going to be fantastic and critically important. So happy to share that. Would also like to congratulate Tim Barnes and Mike McGoldrick on their retirements. And would also like to recognize Shannon Hembry. She just left the single role program after serving almost 6 years for our community, and she's moving on. So we wish her well in her future endeavors. We did have a meet and discuss about the SRP program last week and working with management to come up with ideas to restructure that program. Hopefully we'll take some of the items that we whiteboarded in that room into negotiations that is scheduled to start on the 16th. We're hopeful. We've been trying to get regularly scheduled meetings. So hopefully we can move forward with that, but we're looking forward to putting some work in starting the 16th to ensure that that program is sustainable and people like Shannon can stay with us into long term. To that tune, also, we've had a number of service delivery team meetings. We have smaller working groups, subcommittees in the overarching service delivery team. I think Mike gave you a report on it, maybe a little bit last 522 report when I was out of town. We had a meeting on the 9th where some draft proposals were presented, some fantastic ideas integrating some potential changes in suppression, staffing, and medic deployments with the SAFER grant numbers, maybe augmenting some special operations, and then moving into some long-term plans on what opportunities we have to address how we deliver service to the community moving forward. So thanks to everybody that's putting in work there, and I look forward to continuing to report out to you on that. I myself have spent many days at the state capitol recently. I have had on shiny shoes quite a bit, and my suit does still fit, which was good because I thought I was gonna have to go suit shopping. But Ryan Henry and I are working with CPF and President Jameson when he's available to meet with as many of our local legislators as possible to ensure that they understand our training center ask, as well as our partner in the city of Sacramento with their training center ask, and positioning those as supportive asks, not that they are in opposition to each other, and speaking to the need in the county as a whole. So it's being received well, and we have a couple more visits scheduled, and we'll continue to do that all the way through the budget cycle. So other than that, we have a monthly unit meeting on May 26th. So we'll have a number of members getting together. It's nice to be out of some of the challenges COVID presented to get the membership together. And I think that's strengthening us as a group, as well as we have CPF conference next week in Oakland. And this is the first full conference since some of the COVID restrictions are lifted too. So that's an update for 522 and concludes my report unless there's any questions.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Have a good night. Moving on, the next is committee and delegate reports. The executive committee met tonight. There was no reportable action taken, and the next meeting is to be determined. The next is Communication Center JPA, PC Wagman.
Good evening, President Sailors and directors. Tyler Wagman, Deputy Chief of Support Services, speaking on behalf of the Communication Center JPA Board. The board last met on Tuesday, the 10th, here in the Metro Board chambers. During that meeting, we had 2 action items. The first was a promotional process that resulted in a contract for Marissa Shmatovic. Marissa is a longtime comm center employee. She put herself through a promotional process along with some of the external candidates, and she rose to the occasion. She scored the highest, and she was offered the job of administrative manager. So congratulations to Marissa. I know we are in good hands. She's highly capable, and I look forward to working with her moving forward. The next item was a project that the center has been working on for years, and that is our employee handbook. I would say 6 or 7 years at this point. And this is really the playbook for the dispatch center. So as a new employee, this is a resource now that someone could actually look at and see as very valuable and provides direction through multiple positions throughout the organization, as well as touches multiple policies. This has been a huge undertaking, hundreds of hours, a lot of meet and confer, and I'm happy to report that management and labor are finally on the same page. They both agree to the document, and it has been subsequently approved. So big congratulations to the dispatch center, Chief Bear and his staff. Lastly, on a high note, I know when I was at the dispatch center, we were short on dispatchers. We added 5 to the PAD. They've been struggling to fill those positions just as quickly as they can. I'm happy to report 34 of the 35 dispatch positions are currently filled, with another academy that has been scheduled. So we're going to continue to plant seeds there. And at this point, we're starting to see some fruit actually starting to produce through our crops. So it's been, again, a long time coming, a lot of hard work, and the hard work is now starting to pay off. So that concludes my report. The board is going to meet next on June 14th here at Metro Board Chamber at 9 o'clock in the morning. End of report, unless you have any questions for me.
Any questions out there? All right, thank you very much for your report. Next up, California Fire and Rescue Training JPA, Chief Arms.
Thank you. For the JPA, all classes were completed on April 30th. That ends the training side of it. The next 60 days will be the closing down of the facility. At our last meeting, all agencies had adopted the same dissolution agreement. Our next meeting will be May 25th at 1 o'clock. And I'd just like to compliment Chief Wagaman and the staffing that he started over there a few years ago. And I don't know if you remember, the staffing that we had at the comm center was absolutely struggling, and to have 34 of the 35 positions filled is remarkable. So thank you for getting that off the ground. Chief Bailey followed through and kept that moving forward. So it's taken us 3 years, but it definitely has made a difference. Good job. End the report.
Thank you. Up next, Finance and Audit Committee, Director Rosali.
Finance and Audit Committee has not met. The next meeting will be the 26th of May at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you. Director Gould, the Policy Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Policy Committee met this evening and reviewed one action item, the use of force police officer policy. We took a vote and we'll be moving that to the full board for conversation and approval. And then we received a presentation item from Investigator Paul Tuala this evening on complaints, standards, and procedures of police officer policy. This particular policy will not move forward to the full board. It doesn't need to. It's an administrative. Both of these policy updates were to remain to allow the organization to remain compliant with recent state changes to said policies. And so we're now in better compliance with those policies and aligned to the requirements in our local jurisdictions. So that is the end of my report. We do not have a date for the next meeting, as it's on demand only.
Thank you, Director Gould. Next up are board member questions and comments. Director Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate that. I have a number of items of varying interest and so on that I'd like to praise. And that first praise starts with our Cap to Cap team. Having the Metro track was extremely productive. Some of these things are intangibles that are difficult to measure, to weigh, measure, and balance until we have outcomes. But I can assure you that with the great leadership that senior staff, is in particular Jeff Fry and Krishana Fields, displayed on our trip. I'm just so proud of them, Chief. Everyone did a really great job on that. I can assure you that all of our electeds and FEMA, et cetera, all the agencies that the Chief mentioned, they're aware of Metro Fire and our goals and responsibilities that we're continuing to try to fulfill with their help. So that was just, that was a real win to have the Metro track in addition to the public safety track. I'm glad to see that the divisions are building and rebuilding. For example, the medical director with EMS. There are many areas to develop, including human resources and training, especially with a positive attitude here of anticipation of the Zinfandel training sites. We need to plan for expansion of our training program and enlarge these divisions, both training, EMS, human resources. We need to really be looking for tomorrow and how to expand these programs. That means more people, more budget woes and headaches, but we got to get it done. That's very, very important. Let's see. I would also encourage, I'm sorry I missed the meeting on Monday. I was still traveling, but I would like to encourage all my fellow directors, everyone, to participate in these membership meetings and other meetings that we've had, like preliminary budget discussions within divisions. I understand everyone has a full schedule. Many of us directors still hold down full-time jobs, and it's very challenging to make some of these meetings. But I would encourage all my directors to be aware of these meetings, and if possible, please attend. It's quite informative, and it really it's part of our training that we need to do as directors. And I think that information is hugely important to help inform us on our decisions that we make. A little aside of that, I would like to hear either verbally or maybe in a written report from the membership, from the members that attended the different conferences focusing on women in the fire service. And for those who might not know, I was one of the founding members of Women in the Fire Service back in 1982. And I would really, I would be very interested to have some kind of report, written or oral, about what are some of these issues that are being discussed today. It is fantastic that we have sent people, Chief. That's very important to stay on this track. Two other things. Thank you very much for the chaplaincy support. Over the decades of my career, I have used them. They're so reliable. If there's an issue, I know I can. I would request dispatch to send a chaplain. They'd be there in just a very short time, very short order. It helps assuage all the emotional issues that can occur whenever we go on any type of 911 call. It's an excellent program. Thank you to 522 for developing that, continuing to develop that. And lastly, next week, I'm planning to attend the legislative days for CSDA, and I'll be in contact with some of our folks about how we can tag team issues of Metro Fire vis-a-vis cap to cap and help push those at the CSDA level. So that concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Director Sheets.
Good evening. Just real quick, I just want to wish Mr. McGoldrick and Mr. Barnes a long and prosperous, very fun retirement. I look forward to some, hopefully sooner than later, but wanting to do that myself. So. But congratulations, that's it.
Thank you. Director Orzali.
Thank you, Madam President. Very briefly, I want to congratulate the retirees, and I want to thank the representatives of 522 for extending an invitation for me to come out and join one of the stations for dinner. I look forward to doing that. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Orzali. Director Gould.
No report.
Thank you. Director Clark.
Yes, Madam Chair. I cannot express any more eloquently than Director Jones spoke about cap to cap. I was extremely pleased with that trip. I learned a lot. Became aware of a lot of things that I really hadn't, been up to date on, if you will. And actually, the staff did an excellent job. I mean, the visits that we made to the different legislators, and it was fantastic. The information was there. They were made aware of our needs and our wants, and that was just a great thing. The other thing I want to congratulate Mike McGoldrick and Tim Barnes on their retirement. This is just a fantastic meeting tonight. Thank you to 522 for the things that they're doing. They're really stepping up also. So that's all I have with that.
Thank you. I have no comments tonight, and we are going into closed session now. Thank you all for being here.
Ted Wood.
Oh,
Director Wood.
Oh my gosh.
Save the best for last.
I did save the best for last. I'm sorry, Director Wood. How did I miss you?
Well, very anticlimactically, I have no comment. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's go to closed session now. Council Waldo to report out.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The board met in closed session with respect to the workers' compensation claim of employee Brian Evers. The board voted to provide settlement authority to its third-party administrator to effectuate settlement of that claim. The board also met in closed session with respect to the workers' compensation claim of employee Jeffrey Metzinger. The board voted to give settlement authority to its third-party administrator to effectuate settlement of that claim. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I now call this meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Take care.
Good night, everyone.
Don't break any
All right.
screens. No, that's for there.
When are you coming back?